You ever notice how the people who scream the loudest about hypocrisy are usually the biggest hypocrites themselves? Yeah, let's talk about that. I'm your friend from Mindly, where we break down the psychology behind everyday behaviors. And today we're diving into something that's going to make you uncomfortable, because by the end of this video, you're going to realize you're way more hypocritical than you think. But here's the thing, understanding why is going to completely change how you see yourself and everyone around you. I'm going to show you the mental gymnastics your brain does every single day to protect your self-image, and why calling out hypocrisy might be the most hypocritical thing you can do. The hypocrisy we all carry. Let's be real. You've judged someone for being on their phone too much, while scrolling through your phone. You've criticized someone for gossiping, right before sharing some juicy information about someone else. You've gotten mad at a friend for canceling plans last minute, and then done the exact same thing the following week. Here's what makes hypocrisy so fascinating and so universal. It's not actually about what you believe. It's about how your brain protects you from seeing the contradiction. Because if you saw it clearly, if you really understood that you're doing the exact thing you criticize others for, your brain would short-circuit. Psychologically, we're talking about cognitive dissonance, that uncomfortable tension when your actions don't match your beliefs. And your brain? It hates that feeling. So it creates elaborate stories, excuses, and justifications to make everything line up. It's like your mind is constantly editing the movie of your life to make you the hero, even when you're not. The wild part? Everyone does this. Every single person walking around thinks they're self-aware, thinks they're consistent, thinks they're better than the hypocrites they see everywhere else. But the truth is, we're all running the same psychological software, and it's designed to lie to us about who we really are. The story of Marcus. Let me tell you about Marcus. He's the guy at work who's always going on about authenticity. Just be real with people, he says. I can't stand fake people who say one thing and do another. He's got this whole philosophy about living with integrity. But here's what actually happens. Marcus's manager asks for feedback on a new project direction. Marcus thinks it's a terrible idea. He's told his work friends it's going to fail. But when his manager asks him directly in the meeting, "Yeah, I think it could work. Let's try it." Later, Marcus complains to his colleagues about how the manager never listens to real feedback. His girlfriend brings up something that's bothering her. Marcus has been distant lately. Marcus's immediate response? "I'm fine. Everything's fine. You're overthinking it." But that same evening, he's texting his friend about how his girlfriend doesn't understand him, how she can't handle when he needs space. Here's the kicker, Marcus genuinely doesn't see the contradiction. In his mind, he's being diplomatic at work, not fake. He's protecting his relationship, not being dishonest. His brain has created a narrative where everything he does is justified, and everyone else is the problem. That's not Marcus being a bad person. That's Marcus being human. The phrases hypocrites say, and don't realize it. Listen, if you hear yourself saying these things, pay attention. "I'm just being honest," usually said right before saying something cruel, but framed as virtue. "I don't care what people think," said by people who very much care what people think. "I hate drama," somehow always at the center of it. "I'm not judging, but definitely judging." "Do as I say, not as I do," at least this one's honest about the hypocrisy. "I would never do that, has done that, or will do that." "I'm just telling you for your own good," actually makes them feel superior. That's different, the ultimate justification for why their behavior doesn't count. Here's the thing, these phrases aren't red flags that someone's a bad person. They're red flags that someone's human. That includes you. That includes me. We all have our versions of these. How your brain justifies everything. Your brain is basically a lawyer that only defends you. It doesn't care about truth. It cares about protecting your self-image. And it's really, really good at its job. When you do something that contradicts your values, your brain immediately goes to work. It finds exceptions, special circumstances, contextual factors, anything to make your behavior okay while keeping the same behavior in others unacceptable. Cut someone off in traffic? You were in a hurry, it was important. Someone cuts you off? They're a reckless jerk who shouldn't have a license. Snap at your partner after a long day? You're stressed and they should understand. They snap at you? They're being mean and taking their problems out on you. Cancel plans because you're tired? Self-care is important. Someone cancels on you? They don't value your time. See the pattern? The action is identical. The justification is totally different based on who's doing it. And your brain makes these calculations in milliseconds, so fast you don't even notice it's happening. Neuroscience backs this up. Studies using fMRI scans show that when we evaluate our own questionable behavior, the parts of our brain associated with self-justification light up like crazy. But when we evaluate the exact same behavior in someone else, different brain regions activate, the ones associated with judgment and moral evaluation. Essentially, you're using two completely different operating systems depending on whether you're judging yourself or judging others. No wonder we're all hypocrites. The relationship dynamics. Here's where hypocrisy gets really messy in our relationships. Think about the person in your life who demands honesty but can't handle the truth. They want you to tell them everything until you tell them something they don't want to hear. Then suddenly you're being hurtful, you're being mean, you don't understand them. Or the friend who's always preaching about boundaries but gets offended when you set one with them. It's healthy to say no, they tell you. But when you say no to them, you're being distant. You've changed. You don't care about the friendship anymore. In romantic relationships, this shows up constantly. Someone wants their partner to be more vulnerable and open, but when their partner actually shares something difficult, they get defensive or dismissive. Someone criticizes their partner for not helping enough around the house, while sitting on the couch doing nothing themselves. The damage isn't just the contradiction itself. It's the gaslighting effect. When someone preaches one thing and does another, it makes you question your own perception of reality. You start thinking, wait, am I crazy? Didn't they just say the opposite of what they're doing? At work, you've got managers who talk about work-life balance while sending emails at midnight. Leaders who say they want honest feedback but punish anyone who gives it. Colleagues who complain about workplace gossip while being the main source of it. In families, parents who demand respect but don't give it. Siblings who want support but aren't there when you need them. Relatives who preach about family values while treating family members terribly. The long-term consequences? Erosion of trust, resentment, confusion. And the worst part, everyone involved usually thinks they're the reasonable one. Everyone thinks the other person is the hypocrite. The self-awareness paradox. Now here's where it gets really dark. The more you think you're self-aware, the more likely you are to be a hypocrite. Research shows that people who consider themselves highly self-aware are actually more prone to hypocrisy, not less. Why? Because they've gotten really good at the justification game. They can explain away anything. They've built such an elaborate narrative about who they are that contradictory behavior just gets absorbed into the story. Yes, I did that, but it's because I'm complex. I contain multitudes. I'm evolving. Real self-awareness isn't thinking you've got it all figured out. Real self-awareness is recognizing how often you don't see yourself clearly. It's catching yourself in the act of justification and going, wait, am I doing the thing I hate when other people do it? Rachel's wake-up call. Let me tell you about Rachel. She's got this whole Instagram aesthetic about minimalism and living with less. Material things don't bring happiness, she posts, along with carefully curated photos of her sparse apartment. She judges her friends for their shopping habits, for caring too much about brands and possessions. But here's what Rachel doesn't post about: the 3 storage units full of stuff she can't let go of. The online shopping she does late at night when she's stressed. The way she obsesses over having the perfect minimalist aesthetic, spending more money on the right minimalist furniture than her friends spend on their materialistic lives. One day, her sister points it out. Rachel, you judge everyone for being materialistic, but you literally have storage units full of things and you're constantly buying new stuff for your apartment. Rachel's first instinct? Defense. That's completely different. I'm being intentional. I'm curating. They're just mindlessly consuming. But that night, lying in bed, something clicks. She realizes her sister is right. She's been so focused on the narrative of who she wants to be that she's completely ignored who she actually is. That moment of recognition? It's painful. It's like your entire self-concept cracks open. But it's also the only way forward. How to spot when you're being hypocritical. Be honest with yourself right now. When's the last time you got really angry at someone for something, and then did the exact same thing? Here are the warning signs you're in hypocrite territory. You feel a strong emotional reaction when someone does something. Not just annoyed, actually angry or morally outraged. That intensity? It's often a clue that you're seeing something in them that you can't see in yourself. You notice you're using the phrase "that's different" a lot. Every time you catch yourself explaining why your situation is special, pause. Is it really different, or are you just justifying? You keep catching yourself doing the thing you swore you'd never do. "I'll never be like my parents" becomes doing exactly what your parents did. "I'll never treat someone that way" becomes treating someone exactly that way. People in your life have pointed out the contradiction and you immediately got defensive. Real talk, if multiple people are saying the same thing about you, maybe listen. You find yourself creating really complex explanations for simple behaviors. If you need a 5-minute explanation for why your behavior was justified, you're probably in justification mode. The science behind why we're all hypocrites. From an evolutionary standpoint, hypocrisy makes perfect sense. Your ancestors who could hold others to high standards while giving themselves flexibility, they survived better. They got more resources, better mates, higher social status. Think about it. If you can convince the group that everyone should share resources equally, but then hoard a little extra for yourself, you win. If you can hold others accountable to rules that you quietly break, you've got an advantage. So your brain evolved to be really good at seeing flaws in others and really bad at seeing the same flaws in yourself. It's not a bug, it's a feature. A messed up, relationship-destroying, self-deception-enabling feature, but a feature nonetheless. The technical term is asymmetric insight. You believe you understand others better than they understand you, and you believe you understand yourself better than others understand you. Both beliefs are usually wrong. Your brain also has something called the fundamental attribution error. When you mess up, it's because of circumstances. You were tired, stressed, having a bad day. When someone else messes up, it's because of their character. They're selfish, rude, inconsiderate. Same action, completely different interpretation. The real reason this happens. So here's what all of this actually means. Hypocrisy isn't about being a bad person. It's about being human. Your brain is literally designed to protect your self-image at all costs. It's designed to see you as good, as consistent, as better than average. And here's the twist nobody wants to hear: the people who think they're the exception, they're usually the worst offenders. The people who pride themselves on their consistency, their integrity, their self-awareness, they've just gotten better at hiding the contradictions from themselves. The only difference between people isn't whether they're hypocrites. It's whether they can admit it. The person who says, "Yeah, I'm a hypocrite sometimes, and I'm working on it," that's someone who's actually self-aware. The person who says, "I'm not a hypocrite, I'm just misunderstood," run. Once you see this, once you really understand that your brain is constantly lying to you about who you are, you can't unsee it. Every time you judge someone harshly, you'll hear a little voice asking, "Are you sure you're not doing the same thing?" Every time you justify your own behavior, you'll recognize the mental gymnastics for what they are. And that awareness? It's uncomfortable as hell. But it's also the only way to actually grow. Myths and truths. Myth 1. Hypocrites are bad people who know they're being contradictory. Truth. Most hypocrisy is completely unconscious. Your brain is protecting you from seeing the contradiction because it would threaten your self-image. Myth 2. If you're self-aware enough, you won't be a hypocrite. Truth. The more you think you're self-aware, the better you probably are at justifying your hypocrisies. Real self-awareness is knowing you're blind to most of your contradictions. Myth 3. Calling out hypocrisy makes you morally superior. Truth. Focusing on other people's hypocrisy while ignoring your own is hypocrisy. The people most obsessed with calling it out are usually drowning in it themselves. Myth 4. Consistency is the mark of a good person. Truth. Perfect consistency is impossible. Humans are complex, contextual, and constantly changing. Pretending otherwise just makes you better at lying to yourself. Myth 5. You can trust people who never seem hypocritical. Truth: if someone appears to never be hypocritical, they're either lying, delusional, or a psychopath. Normal humans are walking contradictions. That's what makes us human. Myth 6. Hypocrisy is always intentional and manipulative. Truth: most hypocrisy comes from the gap between who you want to be and who you actually are. It's not malicious, it's just human nature doing its thing. What this means for you. Look, here's the bottom line. You're a hypocrite. I'm a hypocrite. Everyone you know is a hypocrite. The question isn't whether you're hypocritical, it's whether you can see it and own it. The next time you catch yourself judging someone harshly, pause and ask, have I ever done something similar? The next time you're explaining why your situation is different, ask, am I justifying, or is this actually different? The next time someone points out a contradiction in your behavior, resist the urge to defend immediately. Just sit with it. See if there's truth there. This isn't about beating yourself up. It's about getting honest with yourself. Because once you can see your own contradictions, once you can admit them without your whole self-concept falling apart, that's when you actually become the person you think you are. You don't become consistent by pretending you already are. You become consistent by acknowledging when you're not and doing the work to close the gap. And sometimes you realize the standard you're holding yourself and others to is unrealistic, and you adjust the standard instead. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is honesty. With yourself, first. Then with everyone else. If this made you uncomfortable, good. That means you're actually paying attention. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what we're breaking down next.